all good. Hi,
Okay, wow.
everybody.
Hi.
Some people are going to like trickle in slowly. Feel free to say where you guys are joining from.
Do you see my screen?
We see your screen now. Now we do.
Cool. Oh, you got the power. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. While we trickle in, let's just take some deep breaths and be grateful to exist. I'll wait a couple minutes. Yeah. I'm really glad to exist, so I hope that you also feel that energy today. If you're coming from somewhere hectic, just take a minute to relax.
Joshua's pumped up. He's just ready.
Yeah?
I love Joshua's energy.
Yay!
We're trickling in from Philadelphia and Delhi. Wow.
Wow, I'm honored. Thank you everyone for coming. This is so fun. Okay. Well, I'll start at 4:03. It's 4:02 right now. So in our 1 minute, if you're in chat, tell me something that you're excited about today besides this, or something you're hoping to learn from this conference. I'm also in the greater Boston area. I'm in Arlington. Hi. Denmark, NYC, Austin, Philly, California. I feel like I'm talking kind of low. If you hear me, just give me a thumbs up. And if you don't hear me, I guess you won't do anything. Oh, wow, thumbs up. Thanks. Appreciate you. All right. Well, it's 4:03, so let's go. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. If you already know me, hi. If you don't know me, then nice to meet you. My name is Maria. I'm the founder of Planet Lobo, a design and digital marketing studio that specializes in brand strategy, web design, and digital storytelling. I've taken a bit of a unique path to get to where I am today. And today I am here to chat about being a weirdo, which is like my favorite thing. So being a weirdo and distilling your secret sauce. If you have any questions, I'll do a Q&A at the very end, so please pop them in the chat as they come up. So first off, let's be real. Being a little weird might just be the best thing that you can do for your brand, because in a world full of the sameness, it's those memorable quirks and the unexpected twists and the little wait, who are you moments that make people pay attention. Um, so if you've ever felt like that you don't quite fit the mold, that's exactly why I think you're going to thrive. So, like I said, I've taken a bit of an unconventional path to get here myself. I almost failed design school. I moved to Australia. I lived in a van. I worked at a wedding company in China. I've hustled a bit. I worked at schools, hospitality. I've done a bunch of things. It's a story. I'll share a little bit today. But along the way, I realized something important. And that is that the magic in branding and in life isn't about fitting in. It's about helping people own what makes them different and then turning that into a brand that feels like them. And this is what I call your secret sauce. So today we're going to talk about how do you distill your secret sauce and how embracing your inner weirdo can elevate your brand and your career. We're going to talk about why your weirdness is your unfair advantage, how to find your brand, aka your secret sauce, building trust then through consistency, and then creative confidence, how to show up fully as yourself. So for starters, embracing your weirdness and why your weirdness is your unfair advantage. I could shout this from the rooftops. Your weirdness is your unfair advantage. The things that make you different are exactly the things that make your brand unforgettable. So let me know in the chat if you feel comfortable. How many of you have ever been told that you're a little weird or different? Pop me an emoji. Yeah, I see some thumbs up. Yeah, cool. So you're in the right place. This is me. I'm a little weirdo in the world. Obviously, my hair has grown since then. But we all have these little things. So that feeling of being different is not a weakness, it's actually your superpower. I know that in our industry and in our society, we're often subtly pressured to tone it down or to fit in or to be professional in a very narrow way. I imagine maybe you've had a client or a boss say, or a teacher even say, that's a bit out there. Maybe we should play it safe. And there's a time and a place for caution, but more often I feel that playing it safe just makes you invisible, um, because that's safe. So think about brands or people that you really love. Are they bland and identical to everyone else? No, they stand out. And it's probably that quirky little style of their illustrations or their bold tone of voice or their unique personal story, those little weird details that create an emotional spark. Um, and so these weird things about us, they might make some people uncomfortable or confused at first, but it'll really make the right people fall in love. So here's an example of a client project that I really enjoy because, oh, you only see one of them? Whoa. Okay. Well, there's something next to that white rectangle, but I'll move forward in a minute. Um, so what you don't see here is the rest of the branding. That's just the first page of the site. But as a client project, I really enjoy because it oozes humanity and personality and hand touches. So this is my friend Javi who makes custom rugs. And it's an example of branding that keeps it fun and personality filled and light. So I did her site and her e-commerce shop is coming soon. So if you want some cool rugs, check her out. Um, but I show this because I think that branding and mainly marketers as a subset sometimes have this stereotype and this kind of bad rep, an edge of like trying to influence and manipulate people. Um, and I strongly disagree with that because what really is happening is that anything that's promoting you or marketing you, it's a magnifier for your values and your energy and what you want to share with the world. So the lesson here is that being memorable beats being boring every time. And what your weirdness is what differentiates you in the sea of the same. So my hope today is that we have this chat and then after you're like, you know what? There is that weird thing about me that I try and hide, but actually makes me radiant. So that's my hope today. Um, your secret sauce really, it's your unfair advantage because nobody can copy it. So competitors can copy your features, your pricing, your slide decks, but they can't copy you, that unique flavor and essence that you bring. Um, so I encourage you to lean into what makes you different, that thing that you may have been holding back, a passion, an origin story, a personality quirk, even a flaw, and try and bring that to the forefront. Because when you do, what you're doing is you're giving other people permission to do the same. And you're also creating a brand that's magnetic. I believe a lot of what makes me unique is my origin story. I feel like I'm going into like some deep comic book lore. But my parents met on an airplane. My dad lived in Japan, my mom lived in China. And so when I was a kid, I lived in Japan, Hong Kong, Australia, and then I moved to the US when I was in elementary school. So I have a huge and really diverse family. My dad was one of 10 kids. So that paired with moving a bunch as a kid taught me that there's not one way to be. And then, I mean, going to school, I kind of like then was trying to figure out. I'm sure maybe if you've moved places or like you're kind of an other in society, you look around and you say, okay, how is the way to be? How do I fit in? How do I not be destroyed socially? Um, my son is here, he's saying hi. Um, and so yeah, basically like through existing in society, I kind of closed that up. But then I came back and realized, you know what? Like the real takeaway for me is that there's no one way to be. So I want you to take a moment now and think about one quirky or unique aspect of yourself or your business that you've been hesitant to share. You don't have to share it in the chat, but if you feel those feels, put it in the chat. Maybe you speak 5 languages, or you love vintage comic art, or you have an unconventional background for someone in your field. So take a minute and think about that because I want you to then reflect on how can that detail become part of your brand story? So jot it down or just hold it in your mind because that little weird thing might be a big piece of your secret sauce. Yeah, I love this. Thank you, William. So by embracing our weirdness, we tap into an authenticity, and that is huge. Which brings me to the next part of once we've owned our weird, how can we distill that into a brand? How do we articulate and package that secret sauce in a way that resonates? So, finding your brand essence, essentially, what is your secret sauce? It's that unique blend of personality, values, and experiences that only you or your client, if you're someone like me working with a client, have. It's what makes your brand feel alive and one of a kind. And in practical terms, it's to answer questions like, I'm going to go through like 3 or 4 questions. If you feel inspired, pop them in the chat. If you want to keep that to yourself, you do you. My kid is here. We spoke about this. What makes you you, or what makes me me? And what feeling do you want your audience to have whenever they interact with you or your business? I'm going to bring him in. Hey, man. You want to see all these beautiful people? He's 4 months old. A little social butterfly. Okay. So, yeah, we're talking about what makes you you and what feeling do you want your audience to have when they interact with your business? When I work with clients to help find their brand essence, we dive deep into who they are. And we're not just picking colors or logos right away, we're mining for the meaning behind it. Um, so, to help uncover their secret sauce, what are 3 words that describe how you want people to feel when they encounter your brand? For example, inspired, comforted, challenged, pumped up, etc. These words are gold and they point to your brand's core feeling. Next question is, what's a story or a memory that really captures why you do what you do? So there's often a story in your past that defines your mission. Maybe it's how a mentor changed your life, or a childhood passion, or a problem that you struggled with now, and now you solve for others. So that story contains clues to your values and your purpose. My next question is, what aspects of your personality make you different from others in your field? So think about your weirdness that we just talked about, that unique origin story or mission or thing, interest. How can that shine through then? So maybe you're a hilarious human, right? Inject humor in your messaging. Maybe you're deeply spiritual. Okay, infuse the soulfulness. Maybe if you're geeky and detail oriented, embrace that because that's really the thing that makes you special. So, what do people always remember about you or praise you for? Sometimes others can see our secret sauce before we do. So maybe a client says that you make them feel super comfortable or they love your bold style. Those are hints to what your brand should then double down on. By answering these kinds of questions, you start to see patterns, and that's your secret sauce emerging. So, for example, you might say, hey, my brand is all about warmth and inclusivity and a dash of whimsy. Or maybe my style is bold and empowering and a little cheeky, right? And once you have a grasp on that essence, everything you create should then flow from it. And this is how you ensure your brand feels like you and not some template or imitation of someone else. It's alignment in action, aligning your brand with your true self and your values. So, one thing that I think a lot about and want to speak to real quick though is authenticity, which I know sounds a little bit cliche, like be authentic, but your brand essence really, I don't want to say has to be because you do you, but your life will be way easier if your brand essence is authentic to you because there's no point in deciding that your secret sauce is going to be like edgy, badass, rebellious if actually in reality you hate confrontation and you love classic, elegant vibes, right? Because that's just awkward and uncomfortable to show up in every day. Um, so I call this the aspirational self or the aspirational alter ego because you really want to build a brand that you can show up in comfortably every day that energizes you instead of exhausts you. Because when your brand is aligned with who you actually are, who you truly are, it feels almost effortless to be consistent. So we'll speak more about consistency soon, but like honestly, we're here for simple lives. Like we're trying to make big moves in the easiest way possible. So if you're showing up in a way that's easy and natural for you, your life is just going to be way chiller. And people like that essence about you. So As you hone in on your secret sauce, consider the emotions behind your brand. Um, because it's so easy in the branding space to be like, boom, 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 here's a brand, right? But what's behind that is a feeling, right? Your brand's not just your logo or your website, it's the energy behind it. So think about, what energy are you projecting? Is it calm and relaxed and like zen? Is it bold, eclectic? Is it quirky, playful? That energy, that feeling is what people actually latch onto. Brand feeling is so important because people might forget what you say or what font you used, which hurts me as a designer, but it's so true, right? But they'll remember how you made them feel or how they felt getting your package and opening it up. Like those little things, the specific little details, they're going to forget. They're going to forget the specific words you said. You won't remember the whole word, every word I said here, but you might be like, oh yeah, that weird girl, right? Like people remember feelings. So if you get that feeling right, everything about your brand then radiates that special energy and you create an emotional connection. And emotional connections are so much stronger than rational ones. And that's how fans are made. That's how communities gather around a brand. So, distilling your secret sauce is about a deep alignment with your identity and your purpose. It's about infusing your authentic feeling into your brand. And once you've got that essence defined, then the next step is making sure it shines through everything, everywhere consistently. Because having great flavor to your sauce is one thing, but then you got to spread it on everything. So, this brings us to our next section, which is about building trust through consistency. So, you go through this whole thing, you're like, man, what makes me different? What's my secret sauce? You've identified your secret sauce. That's that unique flavor and feeling of your brand. But now, how do you talk about how you present it to the world consistently? Um, Now consistency might sound a bit boring after all this talk about like being weird and unique. But it's really crucial because what consistency does from a branding perspective or from a visual language perspective is that it's the bridge that takes your authenticity and turns it into credibility and trust. So sit for a second and think about every place that someone might encounter you or your business touch points. This could be your website, your social media feed, your LinkedIn profile, your business card, your email newsletter, your packaging, even how you dress on client calls. Each one of these is an opportunity to either reinforce your brand's essence or to dilute it. So, as you marinate on that, think about, right? Have you ever checked out a company's website and then visited their socials and had them feel like they're completely different? So maybe the logo is different, or the tone of voice doesn't match, or the overall vibe is off. How does that make you feel about the company? Do, for me, it makes me feel confused, or maybe like suspicious of, is this brand able to deliver on what they say they're going to do? Should I give them my money? Can I trust them with it? When a brand's touch points are all over the place, it sends mixed messages. So you subconsciously wonder, like, do these folks know who they are? Can they be trusted to deliver consistency? Um, and then as you kind of marinate on that, flip the scenario. Think about a brand that you absolutely trust and admire, right? Chances are, whenever you see them, email, storefront, ad on your phone, you immediately recognize them and they feel familiar and reliable because they always show up in alignment with that identity. And that's the power of visual and tonal consistency. It builds a sense of reliability and you start to feel like you know the brand, and people trust what they know. People trust what's familiar and what they know. So here's a client example of using the same visual language across all touch points. So by not hiding, aka by clearly communicating the brand essence, her secret sauce through consistent color, palette, fonts, unified tone, not only do her visuals look cohesive, but clients are more trusting of the experience because everywhere they look, she shows up the same. They know who she is, and she looks professional and authentic at all these touch points. Um, so because she's holding the energy of her brand consistently, people can feel that. So here's my takeaway about all this consistency. The more someone sees you look consistent across touch points, the more they're going to trust you. And then they're going to begin to believe that you can hold the energy for their business too, if you're a service provider, or that your product will be as solid as your branding. So consistency signals professionalism, care, stability, and it says, hey, I am who I say I am, and I'm not a flimsy facade. So consistency doesn't mean being rigid or boring. It doesn't mean you can't evolve or have fun. It means alignment. It means if your brand is about to say, sorry, let me reset that. I got a little baby distracted. Because consistency means alignment. So it means if your brand is about like uplifting, creativity, fun, then every interaction, whether it's a tweet or a client proposal, is going to carry that same uplifting, creative, fun vibe in the look and in the tone of voice. What do you think? Are you uplifting and fun? Yeah, you are. Thank you for that heart. I appreciate you. What am I talking about? Uplifting and fun tone of voice. Yeah. So then if one day you show up and you're casual and jokey, and then the next day you're really formal and corporate, people don't know which version is the real you. But if it's consistently you every time, like if every day you're showing up with that same energy, the audience starts to relax and trust that the experience that you offer is dependable. I used to work at a door-to-door sales company, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but every morning I'd send a text and it was like all these emojis and like, hi, happy Monday, let's go. And not every day is Monday, but where am I going with this? We will continue now. Okay. Basically, consistency, people expect it and they like it. All right. So think of consistency as keeping a promise. Your brand's visuals and voice are like a promise that you make to your audience about who you are. So every time you stick to that, you're keeping that promise. And every time you break from it, you introduce a little seed of doubt. And trust is built or broken in those tiny moments because every Instagram post, every slide in your deck, each one of those is a chance to say, hey, yeah, this is still me and I've got you. So for those of you who are designers or brand strategists working with clients, this is huge for client trust too, because clients are watching your brand. So if you show up consistently with a strong aligned presence, they'll trust you more with that project. They'll think, hey, this person can hold the energy for my business, or they can do my branding. They can hold that energy because I see them doing that for their own. It gives them confidence that you pay attention to detail, that you practice what you preach. And if you're building your own business or personal brand, consistency helps your customers or your community trust that you'll deliver on those promises. So it's all connected. I know, man. So let's get practical for a second. I encourage you after this talk to do a little audit of your touch points. So look at your LinkedIn, your portfolio, your resume, your website, your social profiles, even your email signature, right? Do they look and feel like the same person or brand? Are you using consistent headshots or logos, brand colors? Is it the same general tone of voice? If it is, great. If not, then just make a mental note or jot down which area is the odd one out and needs updating. And this is a really quick win to boost your credibility. So, I mean, me included, we all have that neglected platform. But hey, just take a look at it and then you can fix it, right? So before we move on, I want to emphasize that consistency works hand in hand with authenticity. So I'm talking about like be consistent, be consistent. But we're not being consistent for consistency's sake or to be fake perfect. We're being consistent with our authentic self, which is why we started with talking about what's your secret sauce. Because when you know your essence and you commit to that, then being consistent is natural. It's about alignment. It's like, oh, okay, I just woke up like this, but I'm going to talk to people. And they're not like, who is that? They're not like, where's that disconnect between the person and then the services that they're offering? Everything is aligned with that core brand feeling. And then when alignment and consistency come together, trust blossoms. Your audience feels it, your clients feel it, you feel more confident knowing that you're presenting a cohesive story. And I mean, I say this from experience because I have tried many an alter ego brand. So, all right. Now we've got our weirdness embraced, our secret sauce defined, our brand showing up consistent. I keep saying consistency. You know what I mean, consistently. The next part is making sure that you, the person behind the brand, also shows up fully. because the most beautiful brand strategy means nothing if you're hiding or if you're holding back or if you're scared to show up. So this is about creative confidence and truly owning your path. Um, so I want to talk about showing up fully as yourself and also the courage and honesty to let the world see the real you in your work, in your branding, in your life without diluting it. It's about not shrinking to fit others' expectations, not putting on a mask to impress. Because I mean, the more that you just show up as you are, the more you're giving other people permission to also show up as they are. And who doesn't want a world like that? Um, but I also know from personal experience that knowing your secret sauce and actually showing up that way can be two very different things as well. And it can be scary. Because it does take guts to show up as our true selves. And there's a lot that, I mean, I don't know if you're on socials like that, but there's that like anxiety song that's hip right now. There's always that little voice of doubt in your head that like, what if people don't like it? Or what if I'm too much? Or what if I'm not enough? Or what if I get criticism? Or what if I get crickets? Right? Like, I don't want to project on y'all, but I'm sure that because you're humans in the world, maybe you felt a twinge of that. Give me a little emoji if you have. Um, but yeah, like we all have moments. Thank you for that heart. We all have moments where we're like, man, like, am I being too real? Am I too much? Me, I'm like, man, I'm gonna show up for this thing with my kid right now, and we're just gonna go because we're humans. Um, but the thing is though, like it's the moments where we hesitate, or for me, it's when I hesitate before posting something, or I'm too vulnerable, or I'm being a little bit like unique. I mean, as humans, we crave acceptance, but I've learned that it's the times when I show up fully in those moments that have led to the biggest breakthroughs, both in my business and in how fulfilled I feel as a human. So, building creative confidence, it's like building a muscle. You start with small acts of bravery and then they grow. So, maybe today you showed up today. Maybe that was huge. That is huge. Thank you for being here. Um, but maybe you're going to share on social as a personal anecdote, or you're going to stand firm on a design idea with a client, or you're going to wear that funky pair of shoes that are like a little funny, but really express your style. And then tomorrow you can do a little bit more because you showed up today and you're building that muscle. So let me share a quick story here. I was a shy kid, and in my early 20s, I didn't really believe that I could do it. And what is it? Like everything: earn money, take care of myself, live abundantly in a career that I love, meet my human, feel calm and safe, right? Um, so when I was 21, I went to go visit my brother in Australia and decided that I wanted to stay. And I mean, at this point, like, I did not have money. I didn't have money to like eat or pay rent or do anything. I had no job. I just had a suitcase. And thankfully, my brother's a amazing human, and he said I could stay with him for 2 weeks. But after that, I had to find a different solution. So, fueled by adrenaline, I walked up and down the street, going to every single shop and restaurant asking for a job. And one place hired me. And they hired me as a dishwasher, paid me cash, less than minimum wage, and then they compensated me in bread at the end of my shift. Um, but I was happy. I was like, okay, you know what? Like I can exist. I can do this. I worked a couple shifts and then they stopped calling me back. And I'm like, great, now I gotta figure out my new life plan. So then I responded to an internet ad to drive a bicycle taxi. But I don't know if any of you have driven bicycle taxis before. The way that it works is that you rent the cab, and then any money that you make past the rent, you get to keep. But I didn't even have money to rent the cab for a week. So I called up the owner and I'm like, hey, I can't pay the rent for the cab, but how about I work a shift and I'll pay you everything I make and we take it from there. And he was like, yeah, okay. So I did that, and I'd sit on the side of the road and call out to tourists and give them rides, and I'd make money, and I'd work till late night, 1, 2, 3 a.m. And then I'd do it again. And I didn't know the area, and it was hard because you're pulling full humans on a bicycle, but it made me really determined and it made me bold, and it also made me hungry for the next thing. So from there, I responded to another internet ad to do door-to-door sales for solar panels. I was actually really good at it. And I ended up running a sales team and having lots of fun. But it's wild though, because every day we'd go to a different neighborhood, knock on doors, and then talk to those people behind those doors. And you'd never know what you'd get. So I learned a lot about people and also a lot about showing up. And then there's more to the story. That was 10 years ago. But why do I tell you this? It's because showing up opens doors. And when you show up as you are, you attract opportunities. You attract people that vibe with you. You attract your humans. And then you learn and you grow and you find out what you're good at and you find out what you like and you find out what you don't like. And I don't do that work anymore. But that work taught me to show up even if I was scared. And the more that I showed up, the more that I do show up, the more aligned clients I get, the more clients who want exactly what I offer come through. And I found that the more you just keep showing up, the more opportunities that are really aligned with you come to you. So take that first step, even if you don't know the next step, because you're taking the first step. And so for you, showing up might mean the difference between staying in a mediocre situation versus finding your dream opportunity. Because someone out there is looking for exactly the kind of person that you are with those blend of quirks and talents. But they can only find you if you let yourself be seen. So the question there then is, how can you cultivate this creative confidence? And here are my thoughts about it. Embracing perfection. So perfectionism is the enemy of authenticity. Don't wait for everything to be perfect to put yourself out there. Share work in progress, launch the website if it's not 100% finished, post the content, even if it's not Nobel Prize winning prose. People connect with real more than they connect with perfect. And then the more that you put it out there, the more you're always improving. Next up is remember your why. So, whenever fear creeps in, reconnect to why you do what you do. Is it your passion for helping others, your love for the craft, your big vision? Let that purpose be stronger than your fear. This goes back to your secret sauce and your authenticity because you have to be doing what you're doing for a reason. And when I think about why I started Planet Lobo, for example, to help business owners tell their story, it's because I want people to show up and be able to live the lives that they want. And so, like, I don't want you to have to go to a job that you don't like. I want you to be able to build the business and build a life that you like. And so that mission gives me the courage to speak up because I know that someone needs to hear it. Surround yourself with encouragement. This is so important. Don't listen to the haters. There's so many out there. Just don't listen to them. Creative confidence doesn't grow in a vacuum. So share your journey with supportive peers, mentors, a community like ADP list, and get feedback from people who appreciate your style. A little encouragement goes a long way. And on the flip side, try to tune out those who always criticize or don't get it because they're just existing in a different version of reality than you. You don't need that. Constructive criticism or constructive feedback, let's say, is great, but don't let people rain on your creativity. You don't need that negativity while you're blooming. So just, I can't swear on here. Don't listen to the haters. You do you. And then celebrate your wins, right? Maybe the win, you're here today. That's a win, right? Maybe the win is that maybe you would have listened to a hater and you were like, actually, your version of reality doesn't align with my version of reality, right? Did you speak up in a meeting when you said you wouldn't? High five. Did you come in today and did you incorporate your personal story on your about page? Each time you show up and you acknowledge it, it trains your brain to see yourself as someone who is brave and authentic. And that builds confidence for the next time. When I was at school, I had this teacher, and he said that the first or second class, within the first 2 weeks, you had to break the seal. And I'm like, what does that mean? And he's like, you need to speak, participate in class within the first two classes, or you're never going to the whole semester. And that stuck with me because I'm like, dang, he's right. Like, I wouldn't have said anything. But because I broke the seal early and I was like, okay, I'm going to talk because you said we have to talk. Then I was like, oh, now it's not scary because I've already done it. So I did this one time. Now that builds confidence for next time. Ultimately, trust yourself because you've spent this time uncovering your secret sauce, aligning your brand. Now trust that you are exactly what's needed. No one else has your perspective on creativity. So showing up is an act of trust in yourself and it inspires others. So when you show up boldly, you become a role model for those around you, clients, colleagues, the next generation to do the same. It creates this ripple effect of authenticity and people that are psyched to exist and just an awesome way of living in this world. Um, that's how I feel. So the next time you feel the urge to hold back, remember you didn't come this far only to come this far. So don't shrink, show up, do your thing, and shine because you're a little radiant being in the world. And as we come towards the end of our journey today, I want to tie all these threads together, the weirdness, the secret sauce, the consistency, the showing up, and related to the theme of this conference of don't settle. So I want to share a little bit more about my personal roller coaster of a journey to leave you with some heartfelt encouragement. Um, don't settle is a really powerful theme. And I'm sure you've heard the phrase thrown around, don't settle for less, don't settle for mediocrity. But I want to talk about what it really means to not settle in the context of your creative journey, your personal journey. I talk about creativity, but I don't mean only in a creative field. I mean creativity as a thought pattern because everybody's creative, regardless of the field that you're in, regardless of the output. It doesn't mean you're painting. It means you are using that muscle in your brain to think in a new way. You have that curiosity. So I want to talk about what it means to not settle in the context of your creative journey and your branding through the lens of my own story. Earlier today, I teased that I almost failed design school, and that's absolutely true. There were meetings about me. I almost didn't graduate. It was my final year. Last semester, I got sick with mono, which, if you don't know what that is, basically it means that you feel terrible and extremely tired. And my school was really strict. So if you missed more than 2 classes for any reason, you fail and you need to do it all again the next year, not the next semester. So, for both financial and social reasons, I was not willing to do that. So I did not rest and I did not heal and I just kept going to class, which was generally okay. 2020 hindsight was not, but at the time was what I needed to do and I was managing till the very end of the semester. And in my program, the final grades were not from our professors, but from a final review board. So you'd work all year and then you'd go in and show this stuff to people who have never seen you or your stuff. And I absolutely flopped at my presentation. Like, I don't know what it was, nerves, being sick, tired. I had all the work, I was proud of it, but I literally just couldn't use my words to explain my projects. So then they were like, "You cannot pass." And they didn't let me show at the final reviews, and it sucked. But what I did with this friend of mine, um, she in solidarity boycotted with me, and instead we set up our work in the lobby of the building so that anyone going in would have to see our stuff before going up to portfolio night. And I did not get a job from that night, but it taught me a lot. It taught me about showing up and about being myself. And it also helped me realize that I'd been holding back my own perspective and my own style in order to please the faculty. And it had kind of sucked my soul out of my work because I'd been trying so hard, sacrificing my health to fit into a mold of my projection of what I thought they wanted. And at the end of it all, I didn't fit the mold. And it really centered me into my own creative power and to myself because it made me ask myself, who do I want to be and what do I want to do? So then after graduating, a lot of my peers jumped into agency jobs and I moved to Australia, which we spoke about before. And at the end of it, I ended up living in a van. And like I said, I worked at a sales team, I was a dishwasher, did the bicycle taxi, worked at a blueberry farm. And I did this because I had an itch for adventure. I wanted to see things. And those months traveling around, they were not glamorous. Like, this is literally the van, and there was no bed. Like, it was like literally like this had been a construction worker's vehicle, and I would sleep on the metal floor. Like, it was not, it was not luxe, but it was really rich in experiences. And I met so many different people and heard their stories and saw incredible landscapes. And that period expanded my creativity and my confidence. And I learned to adapt and to be creative with limited tools and to communicate with all sorts of folks. And that freedom and resourcefulness translates even now to my work. And it was an unexpected path, but it led to growth that I couldn't have gotten otherwise. So, my don't settle message from this is don't settle for the expected path because sometimes the detour has treasures for your secret sauce that you can't see now, but you will see in 2020 hindsight. So fast forward a bit, life took me to China, had many jobs. This is at like a media agency, but I worked in education, hotels, went to school, Was always designing on the side, but that chapter then taught me about storytelling, about service, about cross-cultural communication, which are all part of my secret sauce now. So if you feel like the place that you are isn't it, don't settle for feeling stuck. Find a way to turn your situation into an adventure or a learning experience. One of my jobs was for a wedding company, and they were like, help us. And I was like the creative director for this wedding company. So this is some of the stuff we did. But then I came back to the USA during COVID and was like, now what? The world shut down. And I started a couple businesses with my friends, and they all flopped. Don't settle. And I realized that what I really, really like doing is the thinking and the brand strategy behind businesses, which takes me full circle, right? So starting a business is scary, period. I worked multiple jobs, designed for cheap, hustled, didn't believe in myself. You can see on the left-hand side, that's like one of my first posts on my Planet Lobo Instagram where I was like, I was too scared to even say I had started a business. And I was like, follow my art page. But it's those little micro showing ups that then build momentum. It's a snowball effect. Um, so yeah, that don't stop, build something that's you, because you're gonna just feel better if you're showing up as your true self and doing something you're excited about. Um, so yeah, I went for it. I poured all myself into Planet Lobo, pulled in my journey, my global experiences, my love of storytelling, my weird creative ideas. And at the beginning, it was really tough. There were moments when I had 0 clients, and I was like, what am I doing? Did I make the biggest mistake ever? I have no money. Um, dark nights of the soul moments, but I think most business owners do have that. Um, but there's something in me that just said, don't settle, trust yourself, one day, one week. Just reach out to new clients, try those new things. Go back to that Maria that was knocking on doors, asking if people wanted to buy solar panels, because behind one of those doors is going to be a yes. Yeah, so you never know how the dots are going to connect, but they will. So don't settle for being what other people expect just because they're existing in that paradigm of expectation. Because if you feel something different inside of you, trust that, because it's there for a reason. So little by little, it's worked. One client became 2, and then 2 became 5. And fast forward to today, Planet Lobo's a design marketing studio. We work with clients all over. I have a small team of amazing folks, amazing creatives who I love. Thank you. And we're scaling. We have an office, we have employees. But the most important thing is this innate belief in self that before I started on this journey, I didn't feel. So beyond those numbers, though, what matters most to me is how we got here. And that's by staying true to that unique approach and the energy that I believed in, and by not settling for doing things like everyone else. So I share this not to impress you or depress you or any of this, but just because we all learn through stories, and this is my story. And to impress upon you that your journey can be wildly unconventional and still lead to success. There's no right way. In fact, because of those unconventional choices, you'll probably have successes that actually feel fulfilling to you and aren't just like the matrix successes that you were told to achieve. Um, so each time I choose not to settle, I really am choosing to trust myself and what feels aligned for me. And that's my biggest encouragement to you is trust yourself and don't settle for any brand, career, or path that doesn't feel aligned to who you truly are and the direction that you want to grow. Because it might be tempting at times to take the safer road to copy someone else's formula just because it worked for them, um, to stay in a situation because it's okay. But don't just be afraid of the unknown. Remember that you have your own secret sauce and no one else has that. And settling is basically saying, like, my unique flavor isn't that important. It's not worth it, but it is. And you are. It's everything. And that's why you're here. Because I mean, I trust that because you're here, you believe that. And I can say firsthand, if I'd settled at any point for being a mediocre version of someone else's idea back in design school or in my career, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I certainly wouldn't feel the joy of my current work and working with clients that are aligned. And I probably honestly would have burned out, left the industry, and be doing some other random thing right now. But by not settling, I found my people and my clients and my joy. So as we close, I want you to think about your own path. Is there somewhere in your branding or your career that you've been settling? Maybe using a brand message that doesn't quite feel right to you, ring true, or maybe you think it's what people want to hear. That's a big thing. You're just marketing to what you think people want to hear instead of what you actually want to say. Um, Maybe you're staying in a job that drains you because it's comfortable. Maybe you're freelancing on the side, but you're afraid to go full time on your own thing, even though that's your dream. This is my gentle nudge, my gentle whisper. Um, you deserve to follow your dreams. You deserve more. Your future audience, your clients, your collaborators, they deserve the real you and not a watered down version. So, this is the current face of Planet Lobo. So grateful for my humans that are all aligning and working together towards some awesome stuff. Nika and Josh are in the chat right now. Love you guys. Um, yeah, take that quirky idea, run with it, reach that opportunity, even if it scares you, if it excites you. Stand firm in your brand's truth, even when doubters raise their eyebrows, because when you refuse to settle, you create space for magic to happen, and you'll surprise yourself with what you're capable of. Um, so I want to leave you with this: be weird, be aligned, be consistent, and be brave. Embrace that full spectrum of who you are in your brand and in your life, and hold that energy to keep showing up, and trust that it will attract exactly who and what you need. Um, so yeah, don't settle for keeping that secret sauce bottled up. Pour it out, share it generously, and watch how not only you build a brand that shines, but a life and a career that feels truly yours. So thank you for listening, for sharing this time and space with me. It's been a joy, and I hope you're leaving with some inspiration today. If you liked the questions that I was asking, scan this QR code. I'm not going to wait long on the screen. Just take a screenshot if you're interested. But we do have a little workbook that is a kind of intro to some more questions that might help you. Like, if your brand was a person, who would they be? And that's what I've got for today. Thanks for your time. My name is Maria. I'm the founder of Planet Lobo. If you want to stay connected, we're on Instagram at Planet Lobo, Planet_Lobo, LinkedIn, Planet Lobo. We're starting up a YouTube channel. You can find us at planetlobo.com. I hope you found value today in this. We work with small businesses and corporate brands, so keep us in mind for any design projects. And we're going to be launching a template shop soon. If you're a solopreneur or a startup brand and you want to do some DIY, yeah, follow us to stay tuned if that interests you. And that is what I've got. I'd love to open it up for questions if you guys have any. Let me see how this chat works. Oh, you guys are
Joshua
so sweet.
up so well. He said, "Don't dream it, be it," and I think that definitely sums everything up. So I love that people are definitely resonating with what you said. Someone also asked if you can drop the QR code. Would you be open to people connecting with you on LinkedIn so they can
Yeah,
access resources later or talk?
absolutely. Here's the QR code if you guys are interested. It's one of those little, they'll bring you to a landing page and you put your email in and you get it to your inbox. There's also a website copy workbook in that as well, if you want to think about how to sculpt your website.
You're getting so much love in the comments, just insightful, inspiring, a lot of
Yeah.
thank yous.
Thanks,
um,
fam. Thanks for coming.
we did have one question from William,
Mhm.
an excellent like case study, an excellent example. He says that he does two things. He does grant writing and creative projects. How can he maintain consistency in the tone?
Yeah. So what I would think about is how are you packaging your business, right? Like, is it a personal brand or are they non-human facing businesses, non like face facing businesses? Because if you're treating them like, I would say if you're being the personal brand, I'll just show up and say, hey, I'm a person and I do these two things and I'm great at those two things and own that. Um, or package it as a non-personal brand and have them be two separate like business brands, if that makes sense. But I guess since you're saying how do I maintain consistency in tone, I would say just show up as you truly are and use your voice because people are going to come to you for that. Because your creative projects and grant writing, it's definitely like it's human work, it's intensive human work that you're coming through. So own that that's like your unique frequency of being, right? And like if you want to be the face of it, show up saying that you're doing those things. Hope that answered your question. Anyone else? We've got a couple minutes.
Yes. Josh also asked, um, is there an avenue to speak with you regarding your experiences in China or abroad generally, as it relates to working in and from here, or some info you like to share here?
Absolutely. Is there an avenue to speak with me regarding my experiences in China or abroad as it relates to working in or from there, or something you'd like to share? Yes. DM me or send me an email if you'd like. I was doing this kind of through non-traditional routes. So I definitely went to China on a student visa, and then everyone was working and everyone had to be working to make money and no one was checking. And I know a lot of people are doing that in the US as well. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do or what not to do. That being said, though, um, the easiest way to go to China, honestly, was to be a teacher. I think that's changed in the past couple of years. But a lot of people I knew there were on work visas, being university professors or teachers. It's a little bit hard as a foreigner. Like, for example, like just depending on the industry you're in, I would say your best bet is to just be building up a personal brand or building up a clientele as your business, and then just keep running your business as you travel, kind of in like a digital nomad capacity, is my suggestion, honestly. But if you want to go somewhere and get sponsored for work and stuff like that, it's just a matter of applying for jobs and applying for sponsorship. But that's, as many people know, that's a little bit, I don't want to tell you it doesn't work, because it does work, but it's a little bit harder. But I'm also happy to chat anytime about anything you have questions about. Hope that answered your questions.
Interesting enough, I actually have that in common. Teaching in China, kind of a
Yeah,
perfect transition.
where were you?
I was in Shanghai.
Okay, I was in Xi'an for like 4 years, but I went to study ethnology. Um,
I'm an anthropology major.
we're gonna be friends. Okay, I'm
Very
happy to
small
meet you.
world. And we'll take one final question today. It is from Nargis. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name. He asks two questions, so two in one. It says, how can we find our essence? And
Mhm.
two, how could this strategy help us during job interviews to sell ourselves better?
Okay, how do you find your essence is really thinking about like when you're not thinking about society or other people's projections on you, what do you actually like? What do you think is funny, and how do you show up? Right? Like maybe you love miniatures, or maybe you love baking. Like those things about you are how you find, like, honestly, it's like inner child work, like figuring out the things that really make you excited. And the more you can kind of tune into that core of who was I or who am I before I listened and latched onto all these things about the way society says I should be, that's how you find your essence. Because if you can kind of shed all that, it's like when you get out of the shower and you're a fresh person. I'm saying weird stuff. But how could this strategy help us during job interviews to sell ourselves? Um, it's a little bit different, like personal brand wise versus job interview wise, because ultimately, like job interviews want to know that you're going to be able to show up and complete the tasks that they need you to complete and show up supporting their brand. So it's a little bit different than showing up as like a personal business or personal brand in that way. But honestly, it's showing up with, like, if you know who you are and you're showing up and people can tell and feel who you are, then they're going to hire you on based on your personality, because you're going to be a good social and cultural match to work with those people. And if you're rejected, I think honestly it's kind of a blessing, because it means that you weren't the right fit, and you're not going to waste your time, and you just go and find that next right fit for you. um I hope that's helpful to hear. And I think it's that time, but thank you all for hanging out with me. It's been a joy.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. We had a splendid time, and I know everyone took notes. So feel
Appreciate
free to join future sessions. The Don't Settle conference is still going on today, or network with each other in the networking area. Thank
it.
you
Cool.
so much, Maria.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Do I leave?